that I would knock Ali out. I would stop him somewhere from 1 to 8 rounds.
On October 2nd, 1980, 38-year-old Muhammad Ali held one of his last fights with his former sparring partner, Larry Holmes. This fight will make all viewers cry, because throughout the fight, the helpless and already sick Muhammad missed punch after punch, looking like a punching bag.
Savage.
At this moment, on the other side of America, a yet unknown 14-year-old black boy was also watching the drama intently on TV. He was wiping the tears from his face and repeating the exact phrase, "I will avenge you." That kid was Mike Tyson, and he would get his revenge. During his legendary career, Muhammad Ali only had one defeat. Larry Holmes, who we previously mentioned, was the only boxer who managed to defeat him. He was the only boxer who finished the fight with Ali before the final bell sounded. Everything ended in the 10th round when Muhammad's staff decided to end the fight. Ali was terrifying to watch. Total beating. That's what boxing experts called this encounter. If to understand the reasons for such a weak performance of the former champion, this defeat would be pretty logical. First of all, Muhammad had not been in the ring for 2 whole years before this fight, which powerfully affected his physical shape. Second, even though Ali was an outstanding boxer, he was already 38 years old, and the prolonged absence played its role. Thirdly, Muhammad had no desire to fight, and if it were not for the dire need for money, it would be unlikely that he would ever step into the ring again. But perhaps the main factor that influenced Ali's poor performance was Parkinson's disease.
I wasn't myself the night for Holmes. I couldn't get away from punches. My timing was off. My reflexes were slow. And I was weak and tired after the first round.
Few people know, but 3 months before this ill-fated fight, Ali underwent a medical examination, which was kept strictly secret for a long time. Muhammad had already been diagnosed with terrible Parkinson's disease. The symptoms were already evident. Ali could not stand on one leg, could hardly touch the tip of his nose, and his speech was becoming increasingly slurred. The organization of the legendary fight between Muhammad and Larry Holmes was then under the threat of failure. However, still here, Ali took everything into his own hands and insisted on conducting the fight. Ultimately, he managed to persuade his team and hid his medical history from view. Even if Muhammad were healthy, it was unlikely that the fight would be easy for him because Larry Holmes was a serious boxer. He was 8 years younger than Ali, and most importantly, Larry was the world champion at that time. Fight night. As soon as Muhammad Ali stepped into the ring, looking straight into Holmes' eyes, he started shouting the following phrase, "I am your mentor. I am your teacher. You owe everything to me." It can be assumed that there was some personal animosity between the fighters, which is why Muhammad decided to step into the ring against Holmes. He did not care about his health and his unfortunate diagnosis, and besides, before the fight, Holmes had said some very unpleasant things about his former sparring partner.
Champion of all champion, Ali will fall. He won't go 8 rounds, I predict it. Ali will fall. You ain't knocked nobody out in 67, 76, and you say you gonna knock me out. I ain't never been out 35 fights.
Yeah, I'm gonna knock you out. And you scared of me. You know you beating your master.
God.
You know you beating your master.
I swear to God. I'm knocking you out.
Knock me out. You are my sparring partner, remember that. You are my sparring partner.
Larry Holmes was not very respectful towards the grand champion. Still, in Holmes' defense, we must remember how Muhammad Ali himself loved to talk about his opponents similarly, and many of his words were much more coarse and offensive.
Don't call me no Uncle Tom.
That's what you are, Uncle Tom.
Larry's disrespectful behavior and acute lack of money were the main motives of former world champion Ali to come to the ring.
This is my day. I say Ali used to float like a butterfly, he used to sting like a bee. But when he fight Larry Holmes, he'll fall in round 3.
You will never be recognized until you stop Ali. Now, old man, come back 2 years, still muster up enough to not defeat you, but knock you out.
And so the bell sounded for the fight. 10 rounds of the champion beating began, which was scary to watch.
Holmes being careful.
Parkinson's disease was just beginning to develop, but even so, it managed to leave an impressive mark on Muhammad Ali's stamina, reaction, and speed. He could no longer flutter like a butterfly and sting like a bee. News headlines quoted that event. Ultimately, Ali's trainer, Angelo Dundee, couldn't take the nerves. Of course, he had to watch the whole 10 rounds of the beating of his mentee. That's the weakest Ali he's ever seen. The coach simply could not watch how the former menace of boxing could hardly defend himself against a challenging but not so much legendary fighter like Ali. Angelo Dundee did not let his charge into the ring in the 10th round, shouting, "I'm the chief second. I demand the fight to be stopped."
Game's over. I'm the chief second. All right. I stopped the fight. All right.
It was the first fight in which Muhammad lost early. The camera panned out into the audience of many crying spectators. As a boxer, Ali was already over. It was the penultimate fight of his career, and he lost the next one too. This should have been the end of the story, but it's at this point that fate weaves in character like Mike Tyson, and we all remember what he promised to do with his idol's offender. Mike Tyson had a rather difficult childhood. At 13, Mike ended up in a juvenile hall, and it would seem it would be impossible to get out of that hole. But chance helped him, because it was in juvie that Iron Mike met the legendary Muhammad Ali. This meeting forever changed the young man's life, because from that moment, he burned with the idea of becoming a world champion in boxing. When Tyson was 14 years old, a famous coach named Cass D'Amato recognized his potential. He adopted a homeless boy at that time. Cass was well acquainted with Muhammad Ali, so several times he asked Muhammad to talk on the phone with young Tyson. The first conversation between our two heroes occurred right after that dramatic fight between Ali and Holmes. The morning after Ali's fight with Holmes, Tyson's coach Cass D'Amato spoke to Muhammad on the phone in the presence of his ward. "How did you let this amateur beat you? He's an amateur, Muhammad. He's just a worthless boxer. And I say that he is an amateur. Do not tell me he's just an ordinary boxer. Why did you let an amateur beat you like that?" D'Amato shouted. Then he did the fateful thing. "I have a young black boy with me," D'Amato said. "He's just a boy, but he's going to be the world's heavyweight champion. His name is Mike Tyson. Please, for my sake, talk to him, Muhammad. I want you to tell him to listen to me." And D'Amato handed the phone to Mike. "I am sorry for what happened to you," Mike said. "I was sick," Ali answered. "I took some medicine. It weakened me. That's why Holmes beat me, and I'm going to get well and come back and beat Holmes." "Don't worry, champ. When I get older, I'll take my revenge and beat him up for you," Mike said, teary-eyed. Mike Tyson versus Larry Holmes. Time was running out. Iron Mike had evolved from that little 14-year-old kid into a knockout machine, slowly conquering the boxing world, and by the end of the 80s was already the best boxer regardless of his weight. Unfortunately, Cass D'Amato left this world by that time, but his legacy continued as Iron Mike. On the other side of the ring was the now aging Larry Holmes, who had suffered 2 defeats in a row to Michael Spinks. The 38-year-old fighter was not at the peak of his career. Just like Muhammad Ali, he was reaping the last fruits of his past successes. Well, Tyson never forgot the promise he once made to his idol. And in January 1988, the moment came when the fight between Mike Tyson and Larry Holmes was organized. Larry, for some reason, was overconfident in his victory and allowed himself to speak unflatteringly toward young Mike.
Not Mike Tyson. He go down in history as an SOB. If he do happen to win the fight, down the line, he's going to destroy himself.
Holmes' self-confidence was questionable. Yes, Larry had suffered 2 defeats in his professional career, and all from the same boxer. But those were his last fights before 2 years of downtime. I mean, Larry Holmes had suffered 2 losses from Michael Spinks. He had not been in the ring for 2 years, and after such a long break, he was matched with young Mike Tyson, who was crushing and tearing everybody in boxing. This situation reminds us of that fight between Holmes and Ali, but but now Holmes himself was in Mohammed's place. And here Tyson comes up to the ring, shrouded in belts, with a confident look and determination to tear his rival apart. And then, friends, another legendary moment happens. Before the fight began, Muhammad Ali himself appeared in the ring. He slowly walked up to Mike Tyson and whispered the legendary phrase, "Break him for me," to which Tyson meekly nodded his head. It was like a movie. The fight began.
Round one. I called Larry Holmes from my home, and he said that I would not run from Mike Tyson.
Ask you any fudge set, anybody with an iota.
Stiff hand out there and not let Mike Tyson get his punch out.
Tyson, in his customary manner, zealously rushed to attack Holmes. Larry defended himself poorly and countered poorly. He looked not like what he was before, and the young star Iron Mike was pushing harder and harder. Ring any bells?
Tony Tucker threw 61.
The body's wide open.
There's a left hook by Tyson.
For Larry Holmes, he can't move away with those hands down because of the way Mike Tyson punches. Tyson coming in. That's the right hand.
Tyson says, no, it didn't hurt. That usually means it hurt.
Again. Forget about that. You just go ahead and fight your fight.
There's a right hand lead by Tyson.
That fell short. Caught Larry on the shoulder.
Tyson dominated all 4 rounds. In the 4th round, Mike sent his opponent to the ring floor 3 times, and in the 4th, Holmes didn't get up anymore.
Larry Holmes cannot continue that round after round. Oh, a big right hand, and down goes the former champion.
What?
And down he goes again from another right.
He can't move because he's not steady. He needs to hold on.
It will take every bit of savvy that this man has. Still 40 seconds left. And took another big right hand. Tyson just looking for the one shot.
Whoa.
15 seconds left.
Should be hanging on. Now with the right hand, the left hand. He's gonna hang on, or they'll stop the fight. Down he goes. Oh, he's hurt.
Holmes lost for the first time by knockout. Holmes spent the last 5 seconds of the fight in shock. He didn't know what was going on in the ring. The doctor was called immediately and helped Holmes to get on his feet. Thus, Tyson kept his promise, given in childhood, to his idol Muhammad Ali.